also sustainable. Thank you for creating time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Serfine. It's nice to be here. Good morning, viewers, wherever you are in Kenya. It's great to be at KBC. Thank you for choosing to watch KBC this morning. We are happy we can come and interact a day after the debate.
All right, and talking about the debate, there's a lot that also we'll be discussing concerning that, but that will come in just a bit. I want us to understand this man, David Mwaure Wahiga. Who is he? And, you know, what is it that he has that he's bringing on the table as what justifies why he wants to become president? So we did a little something just to capture something to introduce this gentleman to you, and this is what we have.
The charm for David Mwaure Wahiga, one of the 4 candidates seeking to be elected Kenya's 5th president in the August 9th, 2022 general election. Mwaure Wahiga graduated with a law degree from the University of Nairobi in 1981, practicing law for several years before founding Mwaure and Mwaure Wahiga Advocates, a law firm in Nairobi with offices in Lamu. Wahiga has over 35 years of experience in legal practice. He has used his expertise in law to become an arbitrator, mediator, commissioner of votes, notary public, and public secretary. Mwaure, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and an ordained church minister, unsuccessfully vied for the Kamukunji parliamentary seat in 2011 through his Agano party, which he founded in 2006. This in a by-election following the High Court nullification of Simon Mbugwa's election, citing numerous malpractices in the 2007 general election. Before the by-election of 2011, Mwaure had earlier announced his intention to run for the country's top political office in the 2013 elections. After that, however, he dropped out of the presidential race and opted to run for the gubernatorial race. Mwaure got cleared to run for the governor of Lamu County in 2013, but lost to Issa Timami. And in 2021, Agano party endorsed him to contest for the Nairobi gubernatorial seat after the then governor Mike Sonko was impeached. However, there was no by-election as Sonko's deputy would assume the governor's position, but not after a long court battle. Mwaure now hopes to finally achieve his goal to lead Kenya, but will come up against seasoned politicians like Raila Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Party and William Ruto of the United Democratic Alliance, as well as Professor George Ojakoya, who is the Roots Party flag bearer. In his 12-point manifesto, Mwaure promises to slay the dragon of corruption, emphasizing his first order of business will be to act on existing records of all graft cases. His pledge to business owners is that his government will verify all county and national government pending bills and convert them to government bonds. Other items in the manifesto include waiving all standing tax penalties upon assuming office, employing all clergy of registered churches as alternative dispute resolution officers in the same way as Cathys, training of all clergy from registered churches in alternative dispute resolution as government officers, introducing a pollution tax on users and manufacturers of any type of plastic item, reserving garbage collection to companies owned by the youth groups in villages appointed by village councils, and making the Kenya Power and Lighting Company KPLC divest to distributing off-grid solutions like solar and wind turbines. Mwaure, whose running mate is Ruth Mutua, promises to respect and defend the country's constitution, which was amended in 2010, and guard against attempts to mutilate it through non-procedural amendments.
All right, there you have it. That is just a glimpse of who he is. And we are glad that he is in studio with us today to tell us more about that profile, accompanied by his running mate, Ruth Mutua, who is with us also this morning. Thank you so much once again for creating time. So let's begin by just giving Ruth also a chance to tell us a bit more about who she is. Quite outstanding moment for you when you were named the running mate for, David Mwaure. Tell us a bit more about this lady, Ruth.
Thank you, Serfine. Thank you, KBC. Thank you, Kenyans. Ruth is a daughter. Ruth is a wife. She's a mother. And more so, I am a tired Kenyan who is coming in to stand in the gap and bridge the gap and ensure that Kenyans get their equal share. The lady needs to be heard. The youth needs to be heard. I sit in the both demographic values. So for me, I'm coming in to bring in the change and come to support Mwaure Wahiga as the candidate. I am firm. I've been in leadership from the time I was a small or a little girl, over and above to my employment, to my charge, and in different agendas. This is not my first time in politics, so that I may say. I was in the race, the gubernatorial race in January 2021, and Kenyans, we all know what happened. Yes, probably in the political arena, you might just have seen me for the first time, but also maybe you may not have come to cover me where I was.
I see where you're going there, so be nice. I see where you're going, Ruth, but thank you for shedding light on that. So let's also just, to set the stage, why do you want to become the country's 5th president, Mr. Mwaure?
This, for me, is not a race or a desire that started the other day. This, as I said in the debate last night, is a 22-year race. When from the year 2000, very early in my early years, I felt that new blood, fresh blood, professionals, men and women of faith, of integrity, religious people, professionals like myself need to get into the leadership if this nation has to move forward. But the reasons is, like my running mate said, I am tired. 59 years after independence, I feel no. Same promises, same people, and we don't see results. I felt no. And during my time of searching, both soul searching and reading library, I discovered this because, look, the leadership we have, the leadership that wants to come back, can't move Kenya forward. 59 after independence, look at the high prices that we have for food, essential foodstuffs, living cost of living, look at the level of unemployment, look at the level of debt that we have. And yet, we were born at the same time in the 1960s, like other nations that left us and went way ahead. And the example I have is like you're born together in this village or area. Like I came from a village, my home county is Nakuru County, that's where I grew, I was born, that's where I went to school. It was in a farm situation. And the children of a child from one neighborhood goes ahead and goes way ahead and then goes even up to PhD and other levels. But the other one, the parents want to educate, but the kid is refusing. And 20 years, 30, 59 years, you can't tell the difference. And they both had equal opportunities. And when after examining, I discovered it's because we have not had leadership that really cares for Kenya. We have not had leadership that acts. Leadership is from God through the people. A leader is like a shepherd on one hand, or a caretaker, or a provider, or a director, or a CEO. He's supposed to be fair, equal, share equally, get for, organize, not steal. Because I'm also an ordained minister, I can talk a little from the Bible. There was one leader whom I follow very closely, King David, and the Bible says in Psalm 78, verse 72, that he shepherded Israel. Kwa Kiswahili inasema, alichunga, alilinda Israeli kwa uadilifu wa moyo na ustadi wa mikono yake. And that's what leadership is all about. Elsewhere, and I know even other books, they have got writings in Asema. Leadership is speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves, sharing equally, defending those without rights, and looking for opportunities for people. So I'm in this race because I feel where we are. If this nation has to move forward from the problems I mentioned, and I just mentioned four, and there are many, we need to inject new.
That is different, that we have never heard of or come across or experienced as a nation, that an Agano Party government promises?
Serfine, I think there is so much, and I'll only put just a little bit of flesh on what the president, the 5th, has said. The change that we're coming to bring in, one major one, is the corruption. Serfine, I have voted for the last 2 decades. Our competitors, I have elected the same competitors we have currently over a time, and for me, they have not brought anything different. We are the clean people who are coming with no corruption. That is one of the biggest changes that we are coming in with. We are the clean option that Kenyans are coming to looking for. We are coming with an agano, a covenant with the youth. We are coming with a commitment of the women, the health sector. So for us, corruption is eating all of us. We call corruption the cancer of this country. That is what is eating us up.
I'll give you a chance to continue. You've talked about corruption as one of the biggest change, but let me take you back on something you've said. Clean.
Right. Yes.
Using the word clean.
Yes.
Among your 4 competitors, there is nobody who has been convicted, so you can't categorically say that there is somebody among them who is not clean.
I think
where are you getting that from?
It is documented. It is in the public forum. We all know. We cannot run ignorant on that. And
I'm using the word conviction. Somebody who has been found guilty and jailed or whatever.
No, we can only talk about the sitting government. So for us, we can only talk about what we will do thereafter.
Okay.
What is happening right now? Maybe the sitting government would be able to explain why the culprits are not following up the law.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm giving you a chance to continue, but Mr. Maure, also just to chip in on that, you say that you're the clean pair that come as the safe pair of hands to bring in change and really are really big on fighting corruption. When you say clean, I mean, what is it that you mean exactly?
I think to understand this and where we are coming from is and why we are big on corruption and we say is the main problem we have in Kenya. Let's even start with the loss of the 2 billion, which His Excellency the President said we lose. If you calculate that money, and I'm coming to the clean issue, but I want to tie it with this. If you calculate that money in a year, that adds to 730 billion. That's about 1 trillion. Me, I did the maths where you used to round. So if we are negotiating is 9, I would ask you to round it to 10,000. You know, if it is 1 billion per year, in 5 years is 5 trillion, 1 trillion. Because 730, you just need to add it 270 and you get 1 trillion. That's 5 trillion. During the 2 decades, the 2 terms of 5, that gives us 10 trillion. If that money were not getting lost, we wouldn't be having this loan. We wouldn't be having this loan. Now, in matters governance, you don't need to be convicted. Chapter 6 of the Constitution, talking about leadership and integrity, it doesn't demand it doesn't demand a conviction. But also, if we have indictments, you know, from the reports of Auditor Generals, several of them. The current one has talked of 70 million in her current report, 70 billion that's unused loan. And you are asking, where is that money? Why is it unused? Also, she talks about 540 billion of unaccounted for expenditures. Before her, there was a retired one, Mr. Ouko, who talked about how we lost 215 billion from Euroboard, which to date we don't know where that money went. Why are we clean? We have done this with our experts and discovered that during the Jubilee regime, 22 scandals that are known have happened under their wings. There's no way the leadership, those in government and those who've been there, and those who are there and are contesting with us can escape from that. The bulk stops with them. We've also gone into the coalition government and we have counted not less than 12. So we are clean in the sense. Also, some names have been mentioned. Okay, there may not have been convictions, but their associates. The trouble with this thing, the bulk stops with those who are in leadership, even where it is their associates. That's why we are saying we are clean, because we've not been mentioned in respect to those scandals. Okay. Our associates have not been, and our names don't feature.
That's clear enough. Okay, so I'm coming back to you, Ruth. You are continuing with that change agenda. I'll give you a chance to do that, but also just let us follow very quickly something that is happening this particular morning. There's a launch of a tourism report currently happening. Speaking as this is happening is the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nurdin Haji. Let's listen in, then we come back and pick up on our conversation in studio.
Financial hub, we must also be able to find other alternative means to safeguard our advantage in the region. With those few remarks, DGFRC, I would also recommend that we try and bring on board the judiciary so that they understand the risk of money laundering and financing of terrorism and the risks that come with it. I want to assure both the DGFRC, the IG, and the CS of our commitment as prosecutors in ensuring the recommendations of the assessments are received and delivered as per the recommendations. I therefore want to assure you of our commitment as the ODPP. Thank you very much. You know, on a light note, whenever you repeat that you have nothing wrong, it actually makes us look into you even deeper. So please don't repeat that again. On a light note, thank you very much. And I want to assure you of our commitment as ODPP. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, so that is the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nurdin Haji, speaking at the launch of a money laundering and terrorism report. We will be getting more details about this as we continue with our day's coverage of the news. As well, this morning, some of the issues we are following for you is that this particular morning, the presidential ballot papers have arrived in the country, taking you now to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. What you can see there is security agencies there lined up just to receive this very important package. And of course, this is coming just 12 days to the August polls. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission just trying to put all that they need to put together to ensure that they are ready for that much awaited general election. So what is happening today is that the commission is receiving the presidential ballot papers at JKIA in Nairobi, and we are going to also just stay on this particular story for you so that we can be able to give you more details about how this process is going and what next after this. But what we are sure of is that there's going to be very tight security just to guard this particular consignment. They're going to be taken to a warehouse by the IEBC. They'll be ferried to that particular place just to be, you know, safely placed ahead of the general election. But the commission is going to be receiving them officially any minute from now. So we should be also giving you details about that when it is going to be happening, just to assure that everything is in place. So that is among the stories that we are also following up for you. But remember, lined up for the presidential race in 2022, there are 4 candidates. That is Raila Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, Deputy President William Ruto representing the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. We have David Mwaure Wahiga, who is representing the Agano Party, and also we have Professor Wajakoya, who is representing the Roots Party. So those are the 4 that are going to be competing to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. So the ballot papers are in the country this morning. We are following up that for you. We'll be crossing over back as soon as we get a development on that. But in studio, I'm talking to one of the presidential candidates, by the way. David Mwaure Wahiga is with me in studio. And just to tell us more about his vision for the country, accompanied by the running mate, Ruth Mutua. Thank you for staying with us. And before we went to the airport, you were telling me about the change agenda. You talked about corruption as one of the things that you seek to really focus on. Just to give you a chance to continue with your line of thought.
Well, what else we are bringing in as change is also to change the perception of Kenyans that presidency is not set for a particular group of people, that you can also sit, any Kenyan can also sit where we are seated. So that is one of the change and the mindset that we are also trying to bring into the Kenyans. Whatever we have had, or the leadership that we have had, we feel has let us down. So coming in, we are coming to bring in a whole transition, a difference in the way things are going to run. I will be able to sit and even talk on the issues. We can sit and decide and discuss rather on the issues of women at the first level. I'll be seated in the executive, so that lady who is out there, nitaweza kumtetea. Amekuwa na maumivu. Ladies are being tunanyang'anywa mashamba just because our husbands the husband has rested or a spouse has rested, shamba inachukuliwa. I think some of these things, they could be there stipulated in the law, but for me sitting in here, I'm coming to affirm that some of these laws are going to be implemented. Even that youth who has tried to get those tenders outside there, just because hajulikani or labda the person is not even in deep state or related to the deep state, cannot get a tender. I am coming here again also as a youth person to assure the youth that ninakuja kuwatetea. Well, the president is signing in the laws and all that. I will be right there and I'll be able to discuss this is viable, this is not. This is the difference that I'm coming to bring in. That is change. We have had deputy male presidents and we appreciate. Probably it's just time for transition for the Kenyan citizens. They just need, we're just coming to give the option that they have been looking for. And again, we are clean. Sisi ndio wale wasafi. We have given ourselves for audit. We cannot even declare our wealth here because we are just the kawaida mwananchi who is just coming in now to bring sense and to bring Kenyans into that place where now we're getting rid of the old. Only a new broom can sweep clean. So we are the new broom.
The new broom.
Yes.
And I want to understand why this ticket is working. Mr. Mwaure, there has to be something that informed your choice of a running mate. Usually that's a very big calculation. Any serious candidate would sit down and calculate. Tell me a bit more about why you settled for Ruth Mutua.
There are many, and I'm very excited that, number one, I have a running mate who is a woman. Let me say this: it's not that some roles are for women and some for men. I look forward to when she can take after me when I have served my term, and if Kenyans elect me to be the first woman presidential candidate in Kenya. We have a Chief Justice. One, because she was a member of our party. She qualified when we did our interviews. Secondly, she beat others because we believe in the 2/3 gender rule, and I believe in it very firmly, where if the first one is of a certain gender, say male, like in our case, the second one should be of a female. So by that one, she beat others because of our effort to enforce that law. Then thirdly, because she's a youth. She's younger than me. She's a young mother, and we really must talk about young mothers. We must talk about children, and that way she represents Kenya. When we were talking, I discovered she represents the diversity. She's gone across about 4 counties in her life, where she was born, where she went to school, where she's married, and for me, that was something. She brings a freshness to my race, and she's saying she is clean. She's got a vision for this nation. She loves Kenya and loves Kenyan people.
Ruth, this is going to be your debut in politics, or just clarify a bit more about the transition that this is going to present for you. You know, this is a very intense race, and also holding the seat of a deputy president is also such a big docket. Tell us a bit about how you are packaging yourself for this transition and what it means for you just getting into that active politics.
Oh, well, I'd say, okay, probably I would echo what I'd initially said, being a leader from way back. And I've been in the corporate world for over 10 years. So I believe I'm coming in with skills, I'm coming in with know-how. And you know, the deputy president comes in as the second highest position in the country. So mine is to ensure that I accomplish that which the president has put forth. So I'm supposed to be assisting him in his agendas. And I'm ready to take up the task.
My question, just to be more specific, I'm looking for Ruth the politician. I'm trying to find Ruth the politician, and I want you to talk to us about that side of you.
Ruth the politician, I don't know what answer you're expecting from me. And that's why I'm saying I've been a leader. Probably not had so much, but I'm coming with skills. I'm coming with I don't know, Serfine, I don't know what answer you really want to hear from me.
Because we know that in our country, and you've had this even in other races, there's usually that, mix of being a politician and being somebody who is not maybe a manager or a technocrat, for lack of a better term. Yes, you have that background, in your career and all that. But politics in this country is different. If you've vied, if you have been part and parcel of the active politics in the country, you'll understand that in as much as you may be a technocrat and a manager and you're skilled at it, you have to also have some bit of politics in you to succeed, the murky terrains of politics. So I want to see how you have packaged yourself for that.
Probably just trying to also still get into the exact answer that you want to find in me. But I am ready for the task.
Okay.
I can only say I am ready for the task, and the good thing is that I have proven successful leadership traits. So I am only just sitting into a different position where now I'm representing Kenyans, not just a small group of citizens, but now at this point it is a country-based issue.
Okay, Ruth. Now, let me talk to somebody who has tested the waters.
Probably.
In 2011, you vied for Kamukunji parliamentary seat.
Yes, I did.
In a by-election that came after Simon Mbugua's election was nullified. 2013, Mr. Mwaure, you were also in the Lamu County gubernatorial race.
Correct.
And of course, around 2010, that's when the first time you said you want to be president.
Yes.
Yeah. 2017, you vied as senator for Lamu as well. 2021, you were endorsed to vie for governor in Nairobi after Mike Sonko's impeachment. Of course, there was no election, but you were part of those who were vying. I mean, you have been there. You have seen how our politics looks like. Tell me a bit about why presidency, how you have packaged yourself to win this, considering the fact that you have not been successful in those attempts that you have made before. What makes this race different for you?
First of all, talking about politics in general, over the last 22 years, I've immersed myself in matters politics, in matters governance, understand a lot what goes on in government, what goes on in politics, what are the needs of Kenyans, and also research myself. And not research myself, studied and found that I can bring a contribution that can turn this nation round to what it should really be. Again, there is a trait of me that can come from all that. If Kenyans look at my constituency, they can say, this is a person who does not give up. This is a person by si muoga. This is a person who, there must be something in him and something he is going after. Not to mention also, I love my nation, like I said about my running mate, and being both a lawyer, an ordained minister, praying for this nation and coming to understand that this is a nation of hope and there is so much ahead of it. But what is it that can make a difference now? And I've not won in the last seats.
Yeah.
Like I indicated in the debate last year, like the last election, that one clearly I keep saying I was rigged na vifaranga vya computer. Hiyo ndio iliniingilia hiyo. Watu walikaa kwa computer na tuliambiwa na Right Honorable Prime Minister wakasema nani ataingia. Hiyo ni moja. But you don't have to win. People have won when they didn't deserve it. There is real winning and there is what is called technical winning. Technical sile unapitia tu kwa sababu labda uliingia kwa chama ama ulikuwa na pesa, na sio pesa tu for doing the elections. Whoever was sponsoring, or you are sponsored, or you are a project, which have not been any of those. I have been an ordinary Kenyan. A true example, like Rupita said, every dream is valid. And I'm an example of the fact that anybody can be president and can run for it. I formed a party because I discovered there was a time that even getting a nomination from a party and the ones that were existing, I usually say in jest kidogo that it is like, even if as if going to heaven would have been easier than getting that thing. That thing has been very difficult. Yeah, not quite. It's a little in jest because
on a lighter note.
On a lighter note.
Yeah.
I don't play around with the word of God and scriptures, but one doesn't have to wait until they are elected.
But there's the aspect of, for a seat such as presidency, there's the aspect of being tried and tested, showing that, Kenyans want to see what is it that you have done, how much of you has been present in the political scene. Those are the curious questions an ordinary Kenyan would ask before they settle for you as a candidate.
I have been in the political scene for the last 22 years. I may not have been elected, but I understand what goes on in government and what goes on in political parties and politics. I understand the needs. I have studied about my countries, and in the recent years about Rwanda, which was like born again the other day, though it existed, and look at the way in terms of development, in terms of fighting corruption, the way it's gone ahead. I have studied why our country went down and the others like Singapore and South Korea went ahead. You see, the beauty with a new person, you are bringing in good ideas, you are bringing new ideas, but let me also, a new personality. But let me also say, there is an experience. Sometimes when I hear people say, you haven't had experience, I say, what experience? For me, the experience I know with my competitors is experience of scandals, is experience of our money stashed abroad, experiences of tribalism, experiences of telling lies, because this is not the first time we are hearing some of them. And for my competitors, a number of them, two of them have been there for the last 30 years. One of them has been government, in police, in civil service. And right now, Kenyans, you notice he did not want to debate me. Ili tukuje tuulizane na bangi ni nini. He didn't want to come and debate and be ready to be interrogated by Kenyans. So there is a background. For me, the experience the others are coming with, I wouldn't want it.
All right, we'll come to that later, also talking about the debate and who showed up, who didn't, and the impact this is going to have. But now I want us to go back to what we are following up for you. That is the launch of the Money Laundering and Terrorism report at Serena Hotel this morning. The chief guest, that is the Interior CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, is currently speaking. Let's listen in.
Make it very difficult to have a straightforward regulatory regime. To strike a balance between the NGO coordination board work and the songs that we keep hearing in this country every day about human rights and rights to association and so on and so forth is necessary. If today, as Minister for Interior, I ordered an audit of some of the NGOs around here, you will see NGOs in the streets saying, oh, I am taking away people's freedoms and so on and so forth. Yet in actual fact, in a serious environment where we need to be honest with one another, you should not have a problem accounting for the money that you have if you are an NGO. And if you are receiving the money from clean sources, why should you have a problem to account for it? But even then, you highlighted the problem yourself. The non-state actors are regulated across everywhere. Either they are registrar of societies, they are the NGO coordination board, they are regulated by many other agencies. Now is the time. I believe in the next report, we will look at several things. One, the legislative ecosystem that we have in place, is it facilitative or inhibitive to management or money laundering? Because even formalization of our financial sector will require that we tidy up our regulatory environment and ensure that the legislative environment we have is facilitative of a more formalized economy or a more formalized financial environment, as it were. Fourthly, I would like to propose that in addition to doing a risk assessment in future as we go forward, now let us pick out what I may call frontline institutions in this regulatory environment and scan them. Frontline institutions include, for example, the Immigration Department, which is in my ministry. I have been fighting people called second-hand motor vehicle dealers. Now, 2/3 of them don't have permits, but they are operating because they have paid some of your people and they bribe them every day. And you see, the question is, we need to scan this environment and figure out what we are going to do in terms of enforcement. Let's pick out the frontline institutions in the regulatory infrastructure and then see how we can scan and make those institutions effective. Because if immigration is not effective in terms of issuance of work permits and knowing who is around and who's doing business, who comes into the country and what they do, we'll end up with cases we have been dealing with. They have been called to Parliament before to defend so-called Turkish investors who don't even have a bank account. and they are just operating around with senior politicians and saying they're investors, carrying briefcases, and they don't even have a bank account and so on and so forth. And no one knows their address in town. Now we have Venezuelans, you know. So the issue is, if that is not tidied up, you will have a problem. Secondly, look at other regulatory actors, including our very own police. I keep talking to my brother Mtiambai every day about these challenges that we face. Enforcement and regulation must go hand in hand. I propose, Micah, that in the next study, let's categorize institutions and pick out what we call frontline institutions, scan them and figure out where the weaknesses are, because Achieng is as strong as its weakest point. Where we are weak is where we need to strengthen so that we can manage and ensure that our money laundering does not affect us, as it were. Fifthly, the challenge in this case is also political will. And I think we need to explore this. I am very worried about this. I have to be frank with you. As a citizen of this country, I'm very worried about this, because all these things we are talking about, you can run down a list of actions. 2/3 of them depend on political will, because you are not going to tidy up the legislative environment if you don't have a facilitative political environment. You are not going to carry out institutional reform if you don't have a facilitative political environment. Political will to do this is very, very fundamental. That's why I'm concerned. I have said this before, and I will repeat it again without fear of contradiction. After this election, 40% of the people who sit in elective institutions are active players in money laundering and trafficking. So, do we hope that these people will actually tidy up the legislative environment? All of you Kenyans who have been moving around the villages, you have seen people who are carrying money in bags, lining up citizens, giving them 200 bobs. The bankers in the room, you understand now you have a shortage of 200 shilling notes in your banks, and 100 shilling notes in your banks, because politicians are bribing villagers. People are not working. They are standing on the roadsides to get 200 shillings and so on from all these money launderers. And they are laundering themselves into elective institutions to take decisions. Do you think they will actually tidy up the legislative environment, as it were? It's a question we have to answer. And this is where I want to challenge you, good people, because all of you are middle-class players, well-to-do people, bankers, financial experts, people who live well and drive big cars, who won't queue to vote, you know, so that we elect a government that will sort us out. The election we are moving to will be critical in the decisions that we will take on how this issue is going to be addressed, period. Because either A, we elect a government that is costly with money laundering because that is its way of life and it will not achieve this. Or B, we elect a government that is against money laundering, that has got a basic minimum level of integrity that will join all of us in fighting this. Because the challenges of this are real. Let's not pretend about it. The challenges of this are real. It's just that, you know, certain things we cannot say here because, you know, we are in open forums and so on. During the transition from the former notes to the new notes, so I thought if we gave you time to say the things you saw, it was very interesting. Car dealers changing billions of shillings. How many cars do you need to sell to be able to have billions of shillings? And all these dealers are friends of senior politicians. They are now the ones financing all these 200, 500 shilling notes arrangements in the villages and so on. This is a serious challenge that we need to deal with. Finally, I like what you say. At the face value of it, and when you look at it, and then when you look at the science of it and so on, in terms of financial transaction and how we are going to operate, we may say that we are actually safe. But I would like to challenge us, especially, and in this environment, my brother, the Inspector General, and my brother, the DPP, are very well aware of this. The expanse of crime has now gone beyond terrorism as we know it, in the traditional sense. And all of it is fueled by money laundering. Whether we are talking about very dynamic and sophisticated cybercrime that is operating around, and so on and so forth, all of it is actually financed by money laundering. I would like to urge that we step forward. We move on to the next dynamic environment and look at how best we can now tackle the complex dimensions of how money laundering is funding the negative dimensions of our lives and is going to affect us as we go along. I mean, overall, I think we may say we look like we are on a safe trajectory, but look, my friends, where we find ourselves. Look at our neighborhood. Look at who are our neighbors and what's going on in their neighborhood. It is our responsibility, collectively, public or private, to defend our financial environment, defend our country and ensure that we are safe and secure by fighting criminals, including the white-collar thugs, who will say, I'm going to call a bank, and my friend here, the vice chair of the Bankers Association, will give my friend a loan of 15 billion shillings by a phone call. That is money laundering, essentially. As it is, it's upon us, it is our responsibility to step up to this and sort out our country. No one is going to sort out this country for us. And what we are doing this morning is an important dimension of not just our financial life, but how our economy is going to fare as we go forward. Once again, I thank you very sincerely for the excellent job that you have done, Micah. Thank you to all members of the task force. I've had occasion to interact with some of our colleagues, and this report itself is testament of one thing that we all know. We are a blessed country that is endowed with incredible resources, fine men and women, and the brain trust that went into this and doing this work is itself evidence of the capacity we have as a nation, of the things we can do if we are serious and we assist, as we must be, of the challenges of the day and trying to find solutions for the future. And I know that colleagues from across government, the Office of the Attorney General and the others who are in this, the ODPP, my colleagues from the National Police Service and the others who participated in this, we're very, very grateful. And consistent collaboration with the private sector is no longer a choice. It's something we must do if we have to solve this out. I thank you very much. And of course, with those many remarks, declare the National Risk Assessment Report officially launched, except for the drama we have to do here. Thank you.
All right. All right, that is the Interior CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the chief guest at an event currently underway. That is the launch of the Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing Risk Assessment Report for the year 2021, happening at Serena Hotel. Key issues he has raised there in his address to those who are attending this forum, that 40% of those who will sit in government are actually, he alleges, that are players in money laundering, and of course also talking about politicians and the culture of politics of handouts, really concerned about that, and also talking about political goodwill and how this may impact some of the reforms that are set to take place in addressing these issues, which include institutional reforms, legislation, among others. He says that these are not possible if there is no political goodwill. I will be engaging my guests in studio concerning some of these issues emanating from this forum in just a bit. I'm hosting the presidential candidate for Agano Party, David Mwaure Wahiga, and his running mate, Ruth Mutua, with me. We are just going to be taking a very short break. When we come back, we will be dissecting more of this and much more that they promised the country come the August election. Let's take that break now.
Finally, the wait is over. The Sundowner Sunset date is back. Saturday, 30th July 2022. The Grand Collabo, the gorgeous Catherine Donye and the wicked weekend man John Obongo Jr. together on one stage for the first time.
Meanwhile, some country.
Plus, Sir Elvis performing your favorite country hits live.
Introducing the undisputed king of local country, Sir Elvis.
Yeah, get down, turn around, go to town, boot, scoot, boogie.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. This is News Check, in case you're just joining us. And this morning we are staying on the race to the 2022 general election, just talking to a presidential candidate and his running mate. I'm having in studio the Agano Party team, that is the presidential candidate David Mwaure Wahiga and the running mate who is Ruth Mutua. They are both with me in studio. So thank you once again for staying on. And before we went to the break, there was that I would say quite some remarks by the Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i at this event that saw the launch of the Money Laundering and Terrorism report. And he has cited something that I'm sure both of you should be having something to say about. I'm concerned as a Kenyan. The CS talked about 40% of those who are going to be elected in this election are people who are active in money laundering. And of course also talking about this culture of politics of handouts, that banks actually facing a shortage of 200 and 100 shilling notes because of the culture of handouts, that politicians are actually taking part of this. I'm concerned. I mean, should I be worried?
I believe Kenyans should be very worried.
Yes.
And at this point, that is where they need to make the firm decision on bringing in new leadership. And the unfortunate part is where we are even anticipating like 40% of the incoming government.
That's a crucial number.
40% is quite huge. And it will affect the running of the government. And that is why we are asking Kenyans, if we are ready to bring in another 40% of leaders that leaders are involved in, such as money laundering, for another 5 years, I think we need to backtrack ourselves where all this has started from. And the fact that we are going to put in same old, I'm not ready to put in same old, and that is why I'm in this race to bring in the change. It's very unfortunate that leader anakuja kupeana 200. So banks are being told they do not have the 200 shilling note. It is very unfortunate because it brings out even the integrity.
This culture of 200, who is to blame? Is it the politician or the people? Because ukienda kwa ground, I hear, I don't know, you guys are on the ground. Yes. They say sometimes people demand, what unatuacha aje, you know, what do you have for us? So who is to blame in this equation?
I think it is a borrowed culture. It is a borrowed culture where I am buying you into my vision. So and that is where we need to break in the culture, because why should I come in and accept what you're telling me just because you give me a 200 shilling note that you will just feed me for one day? I believe it has started from the governance side and trickling into the citizenship, because mwananchi anajua nani akikuja lazima tutapata kakitu, and that is what people mobilize each other, that there is a leader who is coming into this direction or into this area, kwa hivyo tujipange leo tunatoka na 200. It is very unfortunate because we are buying leaders. We are buying our positions into leadership. That is why the two of us, we have not been landing with all these choppers, because probably we do not have also the excess of giving out and telling people mununue manifesto. It's like selling out your manifesto, you know. You're telling people si manifesto yetu itashughulikia wamama, wanarika, health. No. That is why Kenyans need to take a stand approach in all this, make the decision na waseme. Sasa I think Agano Party, the leadership of Agano Party, the fifth, Mwaure Wahiga, seems to be the clean person here. Anakuja kuleta manifesto, anakuja kuleta the intention of changing everything. I think we need to break the culture. It's a moment of transition for Kenya. Na ndio alisema jana during the debate This is an Obama moment. This is a Mandela moment. So Kenyans just need to set their minds and have all this in a different approach to badilisha maneno yote, and let us change the fact that a leader has to come with you, has to come to you na bag ama gunia imejaa 200.
Just to borrow your phrase, which was quite outstanding there, this is an Obama and a Mandela moment for not just the Agano Party, but for Kenyans. That is what you said last night. And for this to be that crucial moment, it can't be just instant.
No.
It has to be progressive. Assuming you become president and 40% of your government are people who have integrity issues, how are you going to work? How are you going to handle it?
One of the things I'm asking Kenyans, please vote me a lot of women. Vote a lot of women.
Why women? Does it mean they don't have integrity issues?
Women, I'm out of the women, very few are going around throwing money. Instead, they are planting whatever money they have in their families, in their communities, in their churches, in their mosques, because women are good caretakers. Vote a lot of youth. Why am I also bring campaign for them? Because they don't have this much money. So that next parliament and next government we can change. But let me say also to Kenyans, when you see people coming, all those helicopters you are seeing, these many vehicles and so on, be careful. And particularly those who come and buy your votes. Why are they buying their votes? Because if they were just to present themselves like the way we are presenting themselves, you cannot vote for them. We are coming saying to you, we are where we are because we've been voting leaders who come with that man laundered money. Ama tajiri wanaona. Na hawajasaidia kwa mambo mengine katika ground ama mahali muko. They are coming with that because they just want to be there so that they can continue with that business. I want to believe Kenyans this time are listening to a different sound, to a different drumbeat. And it is important. We've been making a case and arguing and saying, we are here because we embraced corruption. Now corruption, see too, where you give somebody five shillings. We're talking about money intended for the sick, for the farmers, for our roads, for the youth to give them skills, for it to be loaned to women, money intended for people with disabilities, going in people's pockets. Eurobond, which I mentioned at the beginning, was money for development. KEMSA was money for the sick. And it was the World Health boss who said in 2020 August, he was reported in one of the dailies, it was the Daily Nation, that those who have stolen COVID-19 PPE kits are murderers. Our problem has been our leaders have not been shepherding this nation. Right now, as we talk to you, we have made a very strong case that a minimum of 20 trillion Kenya shillings is stashed abroad. This is money that a former CS said should be returned here. If today that money came, we would not be able to recognize the nation we are in. And I know you're going to ask specific questions as we go to our covenants and pledges where we go deeper. Because we are saying...
The how is what I'm excited about.
We are saying that no nation developed. You see, even for your business to progress, you've got to invest. If you eat the profit, you eat the seed, your business will not move forward.
Well said, Mr. Maurits. Just so we close that and get into now the issues that you promised Kenyans, just to close it.
Yes.
What is your campaign strategy and how are you funding it? You've talked about your pair not being in a position to, run around with choppers and throw money here and there. What is your campaign strategy? How are you doing it? How are you funding it?
Our campaign has been funded by friends, our own savings. A lot of it went as we went around looking for the signatures, and we are thankful for Kenyans, party leaders, and our networks who really ensured we got there. Out of 59 people, 4 of us, and out of 59 people, 4 were chosen, and out of those 4, I was one of those who was nominated. I consider this divine, and as a man of faith, I'm thankful to God for this provision. So it is from friends. Even some people we don't know have given into our campaigns. And we have been trying to do everything we can by appearing in interviews, doing a lot in social media. Is on we out those trips.
We are not seeing you in public rallies.
Yes, you see.
Are you not seeing that as being left behind by your competitors?
You know why we are not there? Because we are not sponsored and we are not projects. Our competitors are sponsored and some are projects. or some are running on money that they have gotten from past scandals or a money that should have gone into development. Some are even using our taxes. The Deputy President is using money from taxes because he is in government. The Right Honorable, when I look at him, he looks very close to be in government. He is katika mlengo moja. For me, when I look at the way he is, I ask myself, where did he get all this money? Our other brother who has come in with ideas, for me, if you ask him, it's like he looks like he's a project or he is sponsored by some people from out of here. So that's our problem. But we've tried the little we can. Right now, after this, we'll be going round about Kiambu area and other places. Next week, we are hoping we can hit the Rift Valley and Western, just to greet the people. But we are also saying, going forward, you can even campaign like Trump did on Twitter and Kenyans elect you. We want to change how we elect leaders. Let it be. It's because of your manifesto, Nazera Zako.
Her campaign on Twitter. You'd like to add on that?
I want
us to get into the manifesto.
Yes, I'm asking Kenyans to kill that stereotype that hatujawaona kwa rallies. It is very costly for those who are outside there. You're seeing the kind of machinery that they are using. Sisi tunakuja venye tuko. And we are coming to where you are. We do not have the big machinery, but the stereotype ya kusema umati. You know, people have also this the mob psychology, where if they don't see this crowd.
But they say politics is about numbers.
It is about tyranny of numbers. But you know what? Kenyans need to change the leadership. If we move with tyranny of numbers, we will have the 40% or 50% leadership on money laundering that has just been mentioned. I'm even giving 50 because we are going to recycle leaders. So are Kenyans ready to take up the 40% corrupt and the leaders involved in money laundering? Are we ready to take that up, or to start afresh where first probably we might need to clean up what has been done? And you know, again, that is where we come and say, leaders, citizens of this country, the Kenyans, they need to choose leaders who have good integral history, so that we also do not face the same thing that the current government is facing, so that we get rid of the 40%.
And the question begs, where is this money coming from? And I'm sure like our two top competitors, if you ask me, they have used billions, not even 5. For me, I think they have used over 50, maybe 100. When Kenyans, some can't even afford one meal. When Kenyans, there is such high level of unemployment, youth, you know, actually, even the people who are going there to watch them, they are going because it's better than just staying at home and being depressed.
Yes.
I am sure when Kenyans will get to the box, they will have to answer the question, have these people changed my life? And yet they have been leadership. Have they? Why should I give them my vote? And we'll be saying to them, and we are saying to them, let's get people new. Only somebody new can move forward. It's like a kifagio, you know. You can't use a kifagio for 2 years. You know, a broom. There comes a time to sweep clean, you need a new one. We are saying we are the new broom.
So this new broom that is with us this morning, let's talk about what promise it has for the country. It's a 12-point manifesto that, let me begin with you, Ruth, and then Maureo can chip in. Just take us through what it captures, just key highlights of the manifesto. And during the launch, probably also remind us how you came to decide that these were the issues that captures the interest of Kenyans, or it was a boardroom discussion.
Well, I think first we need to acknowledge that our main agenda here is corruption, because corruption has eaten all these other sectors up. So for us, we are coming in big on corruption. We are the clean, we are trustworthy people, and that is why the fifth Maureo Wahiga yesterday was talking about collecting the money, or pulling back the money that is stashed outside. That is development money that is in our country. You know, if we get resources, if we get funds to run the economy, remember we'll be able to afford the 3 meals, as we have always done. We will be able to bring back the agricultural produce. We'll be able to bring in the subsidies that Kenyans are looking forward to. For us, corruption is big. Corruption is the big thing, and that is why we are saying, for us, the Goliath is our corruption in this case. For those who know the Bible story of David and Goliath, corruption is our Goliath, and that is why we need to take that one stone and hit out corruption so that we get money to fund schools. There's education schemes. We want to give free education from the kindergarten to the high level of education. We want to improve our health facilities. There's an agano with the women. There's an agano, but we can't do all this. Out of the 12 covenants or agano with the Kenyans, we can't do all this without funding. And that is why corruption, we are repeating corruption. We are big on corruption to get back the money and cut off this loss. The president, the incumbent, he talked about the 2 billion loss of money every single day. 2 billion. It's too much, and for us we actually think probably they just reduced the amount to sound a bit ethical, but it could probably be. Yes.
What is ethical about just 2 billion anyway? It's still a lot of money.
For them, you know, for a Kenyan, 2 billion is too much.
Yeah.
And that is why we are using that. It's just too much. Probably from where they sit, it's not probably so much. And that is why for us, we actually think it could actually be more. 5 billion per day. So those are the small pipes that we need to cut off, and we will have money to operate.
All right. Now that you've touched on corruption, I'll be taking you later into the others. Yes. Let's talk about corruption. Every other person has come with that promise and has told us we are going to fight corruption. We are going to fight corruption. I want you to tell me the how. The strategy that is different. What has failed with what we have done as a country so far that an Agano party administration promises a different strategy that you feel will work?
We have said the following. Number one, when we come into leadership on our second day after being sworn, I know the first day will be very busy. There will be dignitaries and so on. We shall ask for all the files of past scandals, and we shall want to reports of what has been recovered, what has not been recovered, and we shall start a process of recovering. Number two, we have said also that we shall go for the big fish. There will be no sacred cows. It doesn't matter who. We are telling Kenyans, just like in our manifesto, we said we will introduce Unga subsidy, and that Unga subsidy, the presidency was grateful enough. He decided to exercise his executive powers and do it before we come. We don't see like you'll be able to give us the names of the KEMSA billionaires. We shall be the people who give KEMSA billionaires. Number three, we have said that we will form a truth and recovery commission, because we must talk about why have we been allowing corruption like this? The stealing of public money for development, money that would have made Kenya a first world. And in that commission, we shall be getting people to come and tell us, this is where we know the money is, this is where it is. But also in that commission, we shall be giving an opportunity for those who have done, and part of it can be done in camera, to say, I have this, I did this, I'm ready to return, I want my country to move forward. But apart from that...
This commission, as you continue, how different is it going to be with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that we already have?
This will be a public commission, you know, a public commission that a president can institute under the Commissions Act, as opposed to, you know, the EACC is in the Katiba, which will have different persons. In fact, part
will
of
it still be there, or it will be, you will do away with it? Will it still be there?
No, the EACC will have to remain. We will have to work. We will also work. Maybe that's the fifth point. We will also work and strengthen and fund EACC, judiciary, the police, the DCIO, so that they can help us in these matters. But let me come to that one. We also want to have a conversation like they had in South Africa, because let me say that, to tell you the truth, Serfine, and the Kenyans who are listening to us, what happened is that we ate not just the profit but the seed, and that's why we are where we are. Right now here in Nairobi, we are celebrating 22 kilometers of an expressway. Almost the key cities in Kenya should be having expressway. We are celebrating 11,000 kilometers of road made during the Jubilee regime. Reading in the papers the other day, we have come to learn that we spent 1.5 trillion. I'm talking about more than 20 trillion, and the 2 billion is not there. The 2 billion is in Kenya, stashed out there. And a CS who was in government, he had intelligence, said that was our money. Then we had this minister who was called John Nyaga. Before he died in the year 2020, he prepared a motion and which he wanted about bringing our money back. And he says, and it's there, you can even get it on the internet, Aliambio Kanyagia. But that's not all. We have signed agreements. When Theresa May was the Prime Minister of UK, she came and she signed an instrument, a legal instrument. Even the Swiss Prime Minister was here last year. But you know, that has not been implemented. The difference with us in matters corruption, this is what has been said through studies and from experience, is goodwill that have slacked. And Kenyans, we are bringing goodwill. Look at what Kenyans you did in the year 2000. I'll tell you the truth, Serfine. We don't like corruption. Sometimes you go to an office, watu wanakuangalia tu hivi wanasuba. You know, it should be a joy to give services. We won't convert Kenya into a nation. You will not want to take money abroad. We want to make Kenya into a nation where the youth, the women, the persons with disability will rejoice at being in it because we are wealthy. We are wealthy. Kwa mfano, 2 billion is lost per day and we don't see the difference. We don't see the difference. This is an endowed country. Again, internationally and strategically, we are placed in a position where people would want to do business with Kenyans. Let me tell you something, my experience, forget tribalism, nikuletwa inaletwa. Kenyans, we are good people. We are created wonderfully. This country, I close my eyes. When I was in primary, we used to close our eyes and imagine we are traveling in Canada when we were learning geography. Or the railway line from Vladivostok, those who went to school about my days, it was visual sort of imagination. You want to visualize skyscrapers, forget what we have. For those who have traveled to countries and they have seen big countries, this is what this country should have done. You know what? And I'll end on this. We did an additional from the various scandals what has been stolen and from auditors' report. And we found from independence, we could have lost as close as 200 trillion Kenya shillings. We did that. Now, the actuaries, go and work at it. Then we discovered during the Jubilee regime, very sad, close to 100 trillion has been lost there. The coalition government, close to 60. Alafu, ingine kama 30, ilikuwa ya Moi regime, the area regime was about 10 trillion.
All right.
That money would have made this country, New York, London are, and we are serious Kenyans, we can do it. This is a wonderful nation. ICT. Let's go to our manifestos. We tell you, we have an agano with the youth on matters ICT. We want this country to be like it's a country of Zambia, which is now an ICT, and I know there has been efforts to benchmark with that because our youth are innovative. We are talking about talents for the youth. It's one agano we have. People with disabilities can change this nation if only they are given opportunities, they are given funding, they are regarded as equals. I mean, because out of our 12 aganos, because we believe leadership ni magano is a covenant, we've got in respect of education, in respect of hospitals, in respect of the economy, in respect of workers, in respect of and workers involved, even police and people in uniform. We have a few we've been given out there, and we come to learn, but not just from them, how they live in squalid areas. So we have got very serious things. Then through education, we educate Kenyans and we deal with corruption. And we can get out of it.
All right. That is where I actually wanted to go, because many have faulted the strategies that we've been given as promise to fight corruption as sort of reactive strategies, that after corruption has been committed, we are going to do this and that and that. I mean, what is it that is there that is looking at the root cause of corruption? Because we cannot always be treating the symptoms and we keep doing that, expecting different results. What is it that have you thought about that?
I think those who have been coming with selfish interests. I'm coming to protect what I have or what I was given. So that is why corruption will come in, because probably I have 100 acres. So for me to come in, I will come in and agree. For instance, if we were coming with selfish interests, I will come probably and agree with the fifth and tell him maybe I need to protect this business. I'm trying not to. I'm avoiding to mention specifications. I'm trying to protect this many acres of land. So we will agree. I protect you. You protect me. But you know what? We are coming in. We are coming in with an agreement that if you breach whatever we have committed to the Kenyans, you'll have to surrender your position. You'll have to surrender the job. Just like the Malawian president. He's stripped off even the deputy and even sacked the cabinet just because he's trying to come and clean up. It is a very costly affair. So for us here, we are not coming with selfish interest, and that's why I was saying we cannot even declare our wealth here, because sisi ni wa Kenya, common mwananchi. We just have the basics, and but that is why we are coming to tell the Kenyans, anybody can sit here. We do not have to come in to protect anything. We can come in to change this country and whatever it has been and make it a better place.
Right.
But on the course, if I can add, the other thing is bad leadership, lack of goodwill, allowing bureaucracy, because corruption also rides on bureaucracy, lack of love for your country. If you love Kenya, you wouldn't steal the money that has been stolen, or money that should be invested here and is meant for people is taken out there. Because we are not inherently corrupt. Granted, even in those countries that are advanced, you could get one black sheep. Again, it's a choice we have made, and unfortunately, past leaderships have not been firm on it. We are bringing goodwill. We are bringing resolve. We are saying we have nothing to hide. We don't have stolen money to protect. You know, we don't have strings attached. Our competitors are all joined at the hip. That's what we are saying. But Kenyans don't like it. Again, lack of education and emphasis on the fact that it is not good, it's not right. We have a lot of wealth. We can move forward without having to auction anything or every service in our country.
If you talk about the corruption and look at the bigger picture, it's not about just the big fish, taking Kenyans' money and putting it elsewhere for their selfish interest. Tell me if bribing an officer to quicken or fast-track a registration process or whatever is not corruption, is it?
It is.
The ordinary Kenyans who engage in this, let me call it small corruption, for lack of a better term. Aren't you looking at this also? And how can we change the culture, the mindset, the thinking of Kenyans, so that we do not treat the symptoms, but instead look at the causes, the root causes of corruption? Do we have a strategy that speaks to that from the Agano Party?
I could first say, and then I know Ruth will add something. In 2002, when Kibaki took over, we saw it is possible to stop corruption. Because like I said earlier, Kenyans don't like it. But it has to start from the top. It has to be led from the front, that phrase that has been used. It has to show goodwill. And that's why when we come in this commission, we are saying that we'll institute. Everybody will be on the chopping board to come and explain what they did. We will want to hear from those people who've been in current government. Where did 215 billion euro board go to? Every corruption is bad, even of 1 shilling. Even between individuals who are not in government, even if it's not government money. Because corruption also kills initiative. I think it's for us of Kenyans to decide and come to the fact that, and this is something we'll keep talking in our campaigns and when you elected, that corruption is evil. Corruption retards development. No country has advanced through corruption. But also, we shall need to create incentives, pay people well, reward labor. We need to pay the police well. We need to equip our courts to deal with this matter. We need to educate Kenyans. We need to provide. Sometimes people corrupt because there is no equality or equity in opportunities. We need to bring a country of economic justice. When everybody has in their pocket, I doubt if they would go on.
But as a man of the cloth, and you speak to masses
Yes,
regularly, yeah?
And preach on
and they
Sundays.
listen to you,
Yes.
and you inculcate values, you inculcate beliefs and principles that people need to use to direct them in their way of life. How are you seeking to use that opportunity and that background, that experience that you come with, to also just sort of...
One of the things we have said is that we work with religious organizations, we work with the churches. You have seen in one of those which appears there, we have a covenant with the faith groups that when they do government services, they render. And they do that. They'll be remunerated. For instance, barring is a service that should be done by government when communities or organizations can't do it, so that bodies that have been left in mortuaries, they have been buried by government. Marrying, finally, after they have done the church ceremony, they will sign a government certificate because there are laws governing that. We shall partner with churches, with mosques, with the temples, with all groups, so that we can again stir the conscience of our people. We need to get back to values. We are a nation of values. Our traditions and upbringing are different. We are a God-fearing nations, about 80% Christians and other faiths. I mean, it is sin, it's wickedness, and particularly when you take from another and give to another. We don't have to wait for people from out there. Like I said, the World Health Organization boss, who came and said stealing PPE kits was murder. So, education and preaching and repeating it and leading from the front.
Ruth, I want you to add on to the same question I've asked. I'm looking at solutions that speaks to the causes, not the symptoms and what we see after corruption has already taken place. Do we have that captured in your manifesto, your strategy, your plan?
Maybe just first to retract on the previous question where you're saying about having the same leaders, and the habits of the Kenyans who have to be bribed or to bribe back. I think
no, the reason I used that example, I was trying to show how corruption is sort of like an everyday thing.
Yes.
It's like normal in the society.
I think I just
how do we change it?
That's for us, I believe change is a process. And for me, the little that I want to add is to ask Kenyans to have goodwill. We need to work together. We need to accept the fact that we have messed up from top to the bottom. Let us have the goodwill that we are coming in to change the processes and the way things have been running. For instance, we want to have, we will have a platform where we will be speaking out. People will be able to speak out. We will come up with a platform where, social media is very powerful. All you need to say is that this has happened. And we have an agano with the Constitution. So for us, that person or that police who is asking for something underneath the desk will have to face the full force of the law. They'll have to pay the price. That is why we're asking Kenyans, please, to come in also with goodwill to help us as we come in on board as the next government.
But we have spoken of harsher sentences. We will introduce harsher sentences.
By harsher, you mean how harsh?
Very harsh, even life sentences for that, because corruption is murder. We also recognize poverty makes some people are really innocent participants, and we want to tell Kenyans, this is a government, this is the pair that will bring wealth. We are bringing that money and putting it back into development. We have money in this nation. And even the deputy president, when he came after I had given my part of the debate, he said Kenya has got money. I didn't know. For all I know is that we are very broke, but he is in government. Then the next question is, why then is it not being put into use? Why not bring down fuel subsidies, cooking oil subsidies, eggs? Why just unga?
Let's go there. Because one of the biggest promises is what is currently biting us as Kenyans, the high cost of living. And you promised that if elected, within the first 100 days, you're going to really focus and strategize on how you're going to tame the high cost of living in the country. Tell me a bit about what is it that you're going to do to make this practical.
Let me mention a bit. We were very troubled the last 2 months as we have worked on the manifesto, looked at when we are sworn. And Kenyans, we really want to ask you, try us, vote for us. When we are sworn, how should we handle the problems Kenyans are facing? And we divided them into two areas, the short term and the long term. By 10th, if we are sworn on that day, Kenyans will need food. Kenyans will need employment. Kenyans will need the cost to be brought down. We have to pay money out there. And the first thing we proposed was unga subsidy. And we are so grateful, and we thank His Excellency the President and his government for bringing that back. The point we are making here is that it could have been brought back. Our competitors are in government. Why were they not advising the president? Why were they not doing it? But we not only said about unga subsidy, so that for us, Serfine, our 100 days started. They started the moment we read our manifesto. We also say that we bring in other subsidies, but we are also appealing to the president, bring other subsidies. And we are appealing to the government, don't wait until we are in power. Then that day we have come with very radical ones. We have said that we are going to reduce pay by 50%. And this thing is having a lot of questions, and I know you're going to shoot some. And the reason for us is, if you're earning 25,000, that will spare for you and about 1,000. And that's a lot of money. It can move a little mountain. If you're earning 40, and not many Kenyans are earning more than 40, I mean, that could have you taking home about 4,000 and so on. And that's a lot of money. People have moved from city centers, town centers, to faraway places to be able to pay rent, so that you can live in the rental price of about 1,000. Life is tough. Matatu fares. And you know, and that money for a person who probably is earning more, they'll be able to do starters up, just looking for a way of injecting into the economy. The other one we have said is KRA is under pressure to correct taxes so that we can pay the foreign loan, or what we call Chinese. We have said we shall waive away the tax penalties, not payment of taxes, the penalties, so that what Kenyans are hiding under mattress and in their homes. You know, when you do that, KRA will not know. But when you take to the bank, they will know. Kenyans then can invest it into businesses, and that will spike economy. There'll be jobs, there'll be circulation of money, there'll be trading. And those were just immediate.
Even as you continue, aren't you telling us about strategies that sort of seek to make the sources of revenue for the government narrower than they already are?
We have addressed that question. Let me have my running mate pop in. Let's have
how are we going to make more money as a country if you're looking for opportunity? Of course, it's welcome that you're trying to lift the burden off the shoulder of the common mwananchi.
Yes.
But then what counter strategy are you giving to sort of like, as you seal this loophole, you're opening up another opportunity for Kenya to make more money?
Yes.
Not just saying you're reducing taxes, you're reducing the penalties. That is a welcome for a common mwananchi, but those are some of the ways in which the government has also just put in place to get more money. So what counter strategy are you putting in place to ensure that you sustain the balance? Yeah.
First of all, I think we all know what reducing pay means for you who are employed, and 50% for us. We have used experts who have assisted us in this, and we have seen that the repayment of our loan is at 1.3 trillion. So we have calculated and seen we can cap our repayment of the loan to 1 trillion. We will have an excess. We'll have a surplus of 3 billion that can be used to facilitate the deficit that will have taken away from the payee. So I don't think Kenyans should be worried about where we will get funds. And again, going back to the 2 billion, the minimum 2 billion that we are being told we are losing every other day. So I don't think the Kenyans should be so worried about how we're going to jumpstart all this. I think money is already with us, and the strategy, remember, if we have money, we will be able to outsource a few things here and there, not even forget promoting the EAC, the East African Community, and that is going to lift the economy of our country. Yes.
Because there's one of us this question. We don't want promises that excites the electorate, and then after you if elected, you become a president and deputy president, you find it quite hard to implement.
One of the other
it becomes unpractical, and then that promise is put aside.
One of the other things we'll be doing we'll be spreading the tax base. We have cut payee, and we are collecting more. We are seeing that as a way, again, we'll have more money coming in so that we can continue paying salaries that are being paid. And she has just explained that we collect from payee 460 billion. Now, 50% is 260. If we cap our loan to 1 trillion instead of 1.3, there'll be 300 billion on top, which will come and take care of this. We are also riding on the goodwill of Kenyans. What I foresee, as soon as we are in power, there'll be a mind shift. and an activity shift in matters corruption. Kenyans will be going to offices and they are asked for things. We'll give numbers, 99 of special numbers, where if you ask for money or your certificate is being delayed, that will be corruption. If your matter is being, we will want returns actually from offices, both government and even in private, where we'll want to know, okay, you've been rendering public services. Can we have a list of what you have received and what you do? Somebody has gone to Lands Registry, another one gets a title before them. Somebody has gone to the registrar of death, and somebody gets a certificate before they bribed. We will want people to say to us, and we'll have special offices at the office of the president dealing with that. Here is a receipt. Me, I applied for death certificate on such and such a date. And then we'll ask for a receipt, for a record, and we'll be able to see that others got before that. We are saying to Kenyans, we must deliver. We must do things right, because for us, we will not steal the money that will go to bring skills, to bring jobs. So we are also trusting that by the time we get there, there is this matter we've been talking of, money stashed abroad. Do you know we have started the process of recovery? 10 days ago, I wrote to 15 countries. And even last night, I appealed to those countries that they start the process of returning the money back. And I told them, if you are holding our money, bring it back. This is what I know, I have heard, I have read. A number of countries have been willing. But like the late minister was told, it's like they are told, kanyagia, or the government is not showing the goodwill. We are bringing goodwill. In 2002, I knew I was grown up. I had people in places who could tell us, countries who are dying to come and invest into Kenya. There are people out there with money. When we fight corruption, we will get investors coming here. A lot of investors have left Kenya because even after they win tenders, before they get the final letter, they are told, nah, and there's something else you didn't do. And what is that something else? There is an office. There are places known in this city of Nairobi, and even in the county areas where we also devolved corruption, or persons who are the gatekeepers, the middlemen and women, where you go and pay 10% of the tender amount and 20. I have heard of cases. I know a number of them will be ready and willing to tell in confidentiality. And we are saying the amount of money, the goodwill, is enormous.
All right.
Maybe just to add, the Kenyans probably, if they are concerned about if we are going to implement what we are saying, why can't they give us a try? Why can't they give us a vote? We cannot, they cannot
so you're asking them, just take the risk, do it.
I don't even think it's really a risk, because we have good track records, and we have allowed ourselves to be audited. We have good track records. Let them give us their vote. We cannot put this in place unless we get into office.
All right. So one thing that you have said is that you have the goodwill to fight corruption. Kenyans are also tired of this monster called corruption. But there is something in between that also plays a crucial role. That is the political goodwill. Even the CS this morning talked about it, that the lack of political goodwill is the biggest impediment to the war against graft. You will not be running a government alone, Mr. Mwaure and Ruth. You will not be alone. Of course, you'll be having a cocktail of leaders drawn from different parts of the country, different political parties, coalitions with different interests. How are you going to juggle in between to make your vision, for the war against graft practical amidst this kind of a setup to achieve the political goodwill that is needed to fight graft?
What is important to note is it's not just us. We are here representing even people who are seeking leadership position, who are really tired of this cycle we've been going for 59 years of hunger, famine, unemployment, and now they have been increasing scandals. We are not short of projects and studies that have been done in this nation, but the implementation thereof, like when the current government came in, and there are those things it has done, and we are thankful. We are thankful to God as well, who enables us to do all things. But for me, if you ask me, what they have done is still 30% of what they could have done if they had fought corruption. And most of the people who've been in government, like this time we had a lot of independent candidates. They are independent because they can't get a place in the party, and yet they are tired of what has been going on. We will ride on the goodwill of Kenyans. we will ride on the goodwill of the fact that Kenyans will be voting new people who have not been there. But also, even those who've been there, all they want, But
some of these things you will not need Kenyans. You will need the members of parliament. You will need, some for them
I was
to
legislate. I was coming to that because,
so how are you going to bring them on
the
board?
question, what is your majority? There are two big coalitions.
For instance, Agano Party, how many members of parliament are you fielding so that you can affirm us that you have a team that is going to help you as the president to implement your
We've got
your
many
vision.
enough according to our standards. In the year 2007, we had 25, then there were councillors, also were like 5 MPs. This time we have a lot of MCAs who are running, but let me say this. Because what the message we are passing there is a message that's getting accepted across board. The bipartisanship that will be in parliament will be amazing. Nobody who is vying and who cares about his people likes the suffering that is in the home area. No MCA, no MP, no senator, no governor. And for us, we are depending on the fact that our message is resonating. So we will sit with them. We'll sit them. And because this nation is going to be rich, we are touching where, look, nobody else is speaking about the wealth that's supposed to go into our development. Public funds that was cutted away. Nobody is talking about that except ourselves. And you know what? Our friends, international trade countries are listening. They are saying we are hearing a different sound from Kenya. What we have looked for. For us, we see when we bring a motion, it will be passing with a majority. We know Kenyans are getting to sit back and say, just a minute. Yeah, with all the rivers, the waters, the agriculture, with all the education, with all the exposure, and the goodwill internationally we have, even from our sports, why are we the way we are? So, how will we? We will appeal to people. We will appeal to members of parliament. They are listening. They are also making the promises we are making. And we are also asking, give us more women and more young people, and give us new people. Give us new people, Kenyans.
Ruth, perhaps you'd have something to add to that? I'm looking for the goodwill and the backing.
I can only emphasize Kenyans need also to put up goodwill. They need to put up leaders who will assist them from the ground first, to even the process of them coming into parliament to make the law. If they put in that same person who gave you a handout, he will come in with selfish interest. So Kenyans, please vote in with goodwill, vote in right leaders, trustworthy leaders with a track record of integrity, so that we will be able to work together. Because if we put in the same old, we will just have to pay another cost of 5 years. It will cost us and it will cost that region. So let Kenyans also vote wisely. We need that goodwill also from the Kenyans, the citizens themselves.
We are also asking, vote persons with disabilities. For us, we are not hiding. Give us a different set of people. People who will come and make a difference. That's what we have. 14 single mothers. Voting, people who have been left as the wretched of the earth, so that we change this nation. We are taking the nation back to where the roads went like this after independence. And we took this one, which took us down. And the other countries took this one. Rwanda, just the other day, it's overtaking us economically, valually, internationally, and it's just a small place like I think Nairobi and one more county.
All right. So we'll continue to just break down this. You have a Agano to the Constitution, to the family, women, youth, persons living with disability, county governments, workers, business owners, the economy, religious institutions, the environment, as well as Agano to the international community. And we'll be breaking down more about what the Agano Party says as part and parcel of what they hope to do to reach out to the interest of all this that I've listed here. But now we want to cross over to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Joining us now live is my colleague Zainab Said. She has been following up that story concerning the arrival of presidential ballot papers in the country. So I'll just hand it over to her so that we can get more details about how this is also going on.
Nani ako studio? Unaniangalia KBC. The ballot papers has just begun a few minutes ago. This is after IBC officials arrived here at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Remember, the plane that was carrying the ballot papers arrived here at around 10 a.m., but the process could not begin immediately because there were no officials from the IEBC. So a few moments ago, just a few minutes ago, the Vice Chair, Commissioner Juliana Cherara, among other commissioners, just arrived here a few minutes ago, and immediately she arrived here, she was briefed, and now that's when the whole process of uploading the ballot, the first batch of presidential ballot papers began. Remember, this is the first batch. We're expecting others to come. Remember, like 2 weeks ago, other ballot papers arrived in the country. The whole process just coming few days after different representatives from different parties and political parties and political aspirants, or especially the presidential candidates, went to Greece just to witness the whole process of printing the ballot papers. So yes, we are here at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The process of offloading the presidential ballot papers has just begun. As you can see on your screen, few batches have been offloaded. The IBC officials are there witnessing the whole process. KAA officials are here, and also just to mention, the security was tight when we arrived here. That's when the Egyptian cargo, the airline that was carrying the ballot papers, arrived here. The security was tight. Both police officers in blue and also the GSU's officers were just here just to ensure that everything goes on well. So yeah, the security here is tightened. Both officers from the GSU are taking control just to ensure that all security that is needed in this process is available. As I mentioned earlier, the airline or the plane that was carrying the ballot boxes arrived at around 10 a.m. in the morning, but we had the whole process of offloading had to wait for about 2 hours before it starts. Officials from KAA telling us that they cannot begin the process of offloading minus IBC officials. So a few moments ago, IBC officials arrived. For them, they were expecting that the chairman of IBC, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, will be here, but he sent the vice chair and other commissioners just to witness the whole process. And also, because as you can see on the screen, among those here, the officials here, also members of the church. Father Mutie is also here just to witness the offloading. As you can see, there are around 3 batches that have already been offloaded, and the process is continuing. We'll be here to monitor until the last batch of the ballot paper is offloaded from the Egyptian cargo airline that was carrying the ballot papers from Greece.
All right, so that is Zainab Said just there giving us details about the arrival of presidential ballot papers in the country this morning at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Expected was the IEBC chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, to receive the ballot papers, but according to the report there by Zainab Said, is that he has sent the vice chair of the commission, Juliana Cherara, to oversee this whole process. And of course, we'll just be going back to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport later. But remember, the Commission received the first batch of the ballot papers earlier in the month, and Chebukati affirmed that a lot has been done to ensure that the security and safekeeping of this electoral material is adhered to. The papers have security features, including serial numbers, which are specific to each polling stations, as just part of the strategies by the Commission to ensure that they safeguard the integrity of this election. We will be going back to Zainab Said later for more updates. But in studio, we are talking about just the 2022 general election and the presidential race, to be specific. And I'm having a panel of two. Presidential candidate David Mwaure Waihiga of the Agano Party and the running mate Ruth Mutua. They've been breaking down their vision for the country. We're talking about who they are, the manifesto, and some of the key highlights of this manifesto. In case you're just joining us, that is what we have been talking about since we began the show. So before we went to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, we were talking about the war on graft, and we've cited quite a lot about how you seek to make this practical. Just before we finish that up, I wanted us to look at something else that also closely ties to that. In fact, I think we should just leave that aside and look at something else. The Agano Party also has a promise for the women and youth of this country. I want to hear the specifics in this area. How do you seek to address the interests of women and the youth if elected in August?
I would probably start with the youth. There is quite a bit. Maybe I'll just mention a few highlights for both the youth and the women. The women, like I had earlier mentioned, is that we need to put up laws and implement laws that are protecting the woman. The woman has not had a voice over the past, and a voice that puts her into position of leadership and having rights implemented. For instance, I will give examples of such as land. You will find a family that has just probably one sister is being sidelined to ownership of property. I'll even give an example of a family friend. This is a family of almost 5 brothers and 1 sister, but there's a discrepancy of why she should own land. And I believe we are of equal measure. We are from the same parents. So of what reason do I not have not to own land in that piece of land? So we are coming in to implement such. We are also coming in to protect the lady who has probably been married into a family, and probably the husband rests, and she's pushed away from owning even the piece of land. So such kind. There's also what we want to implement in all the counties about the gender violence institutions, where the lady can go and report. But remember, when you bring in the touch of a woman, the woman also protects, or the motherly aspect of myself also protects the boy child. So we'll be able to have stations where people can go report the gender-based violence. We are also able to give provisions of ladies and the AGPO. The government procurement processes. We're able to give opportunities for ladies to win tenders. We need more
and to conduct business with government.
Yeah, because they have been sidelined. They have been put on the basis that they're not experienced, they don't have enough capital. No, we want to open that up and for sure let them have their portion. If you have the right statutory documents and accountability, they need the right to also participate in some of these contracts and tenders that are floated out there. Moving towards the youth, I think we all know that there's so much of the youth out there that do not have employment. On the formal side of employment for the youth is to ensure we're having a challenge where the youth is looking for employment and they're coming in with an experience cutoff of 3 years. I think it is only fair for employment or for employers to bring down, we also need to come in with a law where we bring down the threshold where the university graduates or that diploma student comes in and is allowed on the entry point of a certain level. We need to bring it down. We will talk to the organizations. We will put that in place where we can only be fair to have them come in and gain the experience on board, because we all know that probably the 3 years experience cannot be bought on shelf. For the informal sector is revamp and even build up industries. I keep repeating the example that it's only during COVID that we learned we can manufacture or we can produce the masks locally. So for us, and that is why the fifth, Maure Wahiga, had mentioned some of these imports need to stop, because those are the vacancies that are being taken away because we're bringing in items from out. So, and it is only benefiting a group of people. The KEMSA only benefited a group of people. If we revamp and give industrialization an opportunity, the youth, the informal, will be able to get a chance to get employment. Okay. We are importing things that we can do locally. So some of these things are the key factor that we want to bring in on board. So
also to add on that, Mr. Maure, in terms of empowerment and financial empowerment, to be specific, the youth and the women are the most discriminated when it comes to this particular aspect.
People with disabilities.
And people with disabilities,
yes,
yeah?
We shouldn't forget.
So what is it that you're going to do to ensure that you attain a substantial amount of financial empowerment for these marginalized cadres of the population?
Under our covenant to the counties, we are great believers in devolution. And we have said that we shall devolve not even the 35 BBI proposed budgetary devolvement to the counties, but 40. And Serfine, it's good for Kenyans to hear. For us, we are going to for the money that Henry Rotich as CS was trying to bring back, but also to stop the hemorrhaging of the 2 billion. We are going for the money that 2 years after Henry Rotich, the late Joe Nyaga, and once again we keep saying God rest his soul in eternal peace, he went to rest, was trying to get back, and he couldn't. But we are coming back saying, for us, nobody will tell us, Kanyagia, we are getting it back. So there will be money, Kenyans. There will be money. And out of that, we have said, but even if we don't get the 20, 30, 40 trillion, because there are even figures we are working on finding that there is as much as internally and externally, as much as more than 40, 50 trillion that is lost or that can be recovered back. Assume we have even got just the 20 trillion. 8.2, you can pay it in one day. That leaves us with 11 trillion. Out of that 11, take even 7, give half a trillion for the youth and women and people with disabilities. Give half a trillion to the counties and all that. Just look at the difference it will make. But let me say also, what the 40, the other thing that we have come up, which is very different, nobody else has come up with it. For us, we have said, there are 2 things we devolved. We devolved money and corruption to the counties.
I want you to do this, yeah? Because you're getting into devolution, and one of the things you proposed is to increase allocation to counties.
Yes.
I want us to pick up from that conversation when we come back from a break, so that we can talk about your vision for devolution. That's called the Agano to the county governments when we come back from this break. To stay with us. This is News Check